All right, Shalom. Let's start first by giving all praises and glories unto Yahweh, by Hashem Yahushai, Brakatah Yahweh, Brakatah Yahushai, Call Halal Yahweh, by Hashem Yahushai. Double honors to the apostles and elders at Great Millstone, who the Spirit of Yahweh, by Hashem Yahushai, gave the edification to pass on down to us, to have these deep breakdowns of these prophecies, to keep us with the wisdom, knowledge, and understanding of these scriptures, and have us stable in these last days. And also greetings, salutations, and blessings unto the elect, the house of David, those that are chosen and that will obtain salvation. Shalom. Good news today. Well, it's kind of a two-edged sword. Good news in the fact of we're that much closer to the prophecy being fulfilled and getting up out of here. Bad news because there has to be a lot of bad that happens first, and Lord willing, and we don't know who the elect are, because so we have to still tread lightly, so to speak. Well, we gotta stay on our P's and Q's with this truth, man. Anyway, so today, or over this past few days, Syria's been doing some shit, and Trump has just responded with missiles. So just earlier today, there's brothers already posting up stuff, apostles posting up stuff, and it's the spirit, because I was just thinking about the movie Saving Private Ryan, and was gonna go into the different world wars, and I hadn't been able. I've been kind of working. I hadn't been able to really watch TV or watch the news or anything like that. And so I hadn't seen exactly what had been going on. But as soon as I was about to cut the camera on and do a little small lesson on the different world wars, boom, I see this title right here. Trump just launched missiles on Syria. Here it comes, World War III. Let's go. Right? So I have to do this video, which it'll be kind of a blend between the both. So anyway, I'm going to start with a scripture. I'm going to go right to Revelation chapter 9, and I'm going to start at verse 11. It says, "And they had a king over them, which is the angel of the bottomless pit, whose name in the Hebrew tongue is Abaddon, but in the Greek tongue it hath his name Apollyon. One woe is past, and behold, there come two woes more hereafter." Right? And so when you go into that breakdown, that king of the bottomless pit is Willem Kaiser. And I did a little thing on Willem Kaiser. The name is an omen nomen. It was a German emperor, emperor of Austria, whatever. And Kaiser means Caesar, or is derived from Caesar or king when you go into the etymon of it, right? But then in this article, from World War I, they go into him a little bit, not much, but the point of this lesson is to show you that World War III was coming. But then here we go with the whole thing with Syria, and we're that much closer. Come on, don't play games now. Nothing but Satan. Try not to let this come out. See if we can get it up though. Let's see, come on. Alright, so we're gonna do this. We're gonna see if here we go. We're just gonna use this one, yep. So we'll get rid of that. Anyway, it says a history of World War I in 10 deadly weapons. The war did not follow expected lines as new technologies ripped up the rule book. And in this, I was gonna go a little bit into the missiles being the new technology that's gonna define the Third World War. Well, there are other weapons that define the other world wars, right? It says the great powers entered World War I expecting to fight in much the same way as previous recent conflicts. Cavalry and infantry would engage in a few pitched battles, after which the loser would swiftly sue for peace, right? Instead, They soon found that recent technological developments had rendered such tactics obsolete, and before long they were mired in a grim stalemate, facing each other in networks of muddy trenches hundreds of miles long. On the home front, submarines and naval blockades threatened to starve whole populations, and civilizations were killed in air raids for the first time. Yeah, and this is still tactics that the so-called so-called white men, but Edomites, that they use today. They cut you off, or you can't live. You can't get your your food or your commerce coming in to feed your troops, right? They cut you off there. They hurt your economy. They hurt your soldiers, and so that's how they begin to win the war. Anyway, it says at the start, like they're doing in Yemen, right? Anyway, it says at the start of the First World War, the major powers had armies steeped in the traditions of the 19th century, but they were armed with the technology and firepower of the 20th century, says Matt Bronson, a historian at the Imperial War Museum in London. This resulted in two well-armed, evenly matched sides slugging it out in a grueling war of attrition, and led to the further technological breakthroughs as each sought to gain an edge. Yeah, which is going to lead into World War II, where there were bombs that were dropped. We're going to get into that. It says, here we look at 10 of the weapons that define the nature of the conflict during the Great War. It says, including innovations that would help break the stalemate on the Western Front. Rifles. Okay, we're not gonna go deep into this. And this article, if you want, is I think it's Independent Life or something like that. But when I googled World War I, 10 deadly weapons of World War I, and this was one of the top ones that popped up. So you can Google that and read it deep into it if you like. Yeah. I'm gonna start here. We're not gonna go deep, but it's basically saying that there were better guns with the rifles. Barbed wire, something where you can't cross that line, right? We're just gonna kind of run through them. Machine guns instead of the bolt action guns. Different artillery. Poisonous gas. Aircraft was something new. It says when the war started, most of the belligerents had few unarmed wood and canvas aircraft. Yep. They had intended to use as aerial scouts. By November 1914, though, pilots were dropping grenades on enemy troops as they flew over them, or aircraft pistols to take pot shots at other aircraft. Air warfare took a leap forward the following year with the adoption of the interrupter gear. It says, which allowed a machine gun mounted on a plane to fire without damaging the propeller. Yep, it said this led to the era of dogfights in fighter aces such as the Germans Manfred von Richthofen. Germans Manfred von Richthofen, known as the Red Baron, and Max Amelman, whose skills in their Fokker Eindecker aircraft made them leading threats in in what the British called the Fokker scourge, right? Which some of those technological advances are going on today. With the whole plane thing that led into World War II, we're gonna get into that anyway. Tanks, really called land battleships. Yeah, all of that was from the First World War, and those just kept continuing to escalate the destructive path in these wars, right? This is history on the so-called white man. I'm gonna go to a scripture right quick, and we'll go back to that in Revelation. I've been bringing this out lately because some of you guys want to act like you don't believe that the Edomites are still on the planet, but yeah, the wicked are still here, man. Chapter 2. Yeah, let me see the one I want. Yeah, verse 3, and I'm going to read this one and go back. It says, let no man deceive you by any means, for that day shall not come. So like in 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, verse 3. Let no man deceive you by any means, for that day shall not come, except there be a falling away first, and that man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition. That son of perdition, perdition meaning destruction, you know, is a so-called white man on the planet, the Edomites. That's who they are. Because when you go into the history on Kaiser and all these guys from World War One, II, and even on into 3, and then just the track record of the so-called white man, you'll see that he was that man of sin, that son of perdition, son of the wicked. That's still him. Verse 6, it says, and now ye know what withholdeth, that he might be revealed in his time. And this is that time that he's being revealed. Because when you put all of it together, you can see who's who. Verse 7, for the mystery of iniquity doth already work. Only he who now letteth will let until he be taken out of the way. And then shall the wicked be revealed, whom the Lord shall consume with the spirit of his mouth, which is this word, this truth, and shall destroy with the brightness of his coming. And that will be happening very soon. But this prophecy of World War III has to go down first. So going back into Revelation, the 9th chapter, start back up at the 11th verse, and we're going to read down. I'm going to read verse 12. It says, one woe is past, and behold, there cometh 2 more woes hereafter. All right, now let me go back into this article. Airships, U-boats, and here we go with U-boats. It says Germany had 33 U-boats or submarines in operation in 1914. The German navies saw an opportunity to starve Britain, an island nation dependent on maritime trade. Yeah, meaning the trades have to come across the water. Maritime, and even maritime law, the laws of the sea. You have to go across waters, because that's how they brought them back then. So out of the war, and when you go into that movie, The Aviator, there wasn't a lot of trade through the sky like that. Everything was either over water or convoy through the land. Anyway, so you can see the technological advances happening throughout the history at that time. Anyway, it says, out of the war, an island nation dependent on maritime trade. Out of the war, but Kaiser Wilhelm insisted on restricted U-boat warfare, as he was anxious to avoid antagonizing neutral America by sinking its ships. Right? He didn't want to deal with America like that. Anyway, such restrictions were lifted in 1916, however, and German submarines were sending some 320,000 tons of Allied ships to the bottom of the ocean by the start of 1917. Really? All them Allied ships were they were just destroying, man. The son of perdition, right? It said the effects were particularly seriously felt in 1970, says Mr. Bronson. And he says, with significant losses to British merchant ships in the spring and food queues, an increasingly common sight on the home front. Yet the U-boats were a double-edged sword for the Germans, as U.S. casualty ships sunk by the submarines significantly contributed to America declaring war on Germany in 1917. Q ships, which, we're going to go on to World War II. So I'm going to read that in Revelation again, where it said, verse 12, so one woe is past, and behold, there come 2 more woes hereafter, right? And so now we're going to go over to, where is it at? The one I want. The 5th verse. Yeah, anyway, so let's go back into, let's see where we can. See if they'll let me do it. Come on. 2. deadliest. Oops.